Welcome, friends. So glad you could attend. Step inside, come inside, and see the show. And now, from my Dark Matters collection, I present to you Alien Freak Show. When Liliana got home from her suborbital instruction pod, she could not contain her excitement. The 174th annual old-fashioned carnival was in town, a relic from the distant past that was a step back in time. All her friends were talking about it, and those who had been there described the fun and excitement of the rides, the food, the exhibits, and the games with amazing old-school prizes. But the biggest buzz was about the newest attraction, the Alien Freak Show. It was the only must-see feature at this year's carnival, and a welcome break from the same old, same old. Freakish-looking creatures, supposedly from a different galaxy. Those who hadn't yet made the visit listened spellbound, finding the stories about the alien freaks almost too hard to believe. Liliana had found the annual carnival to be a little boring now that she was into her late teenage years. But the news of the Alien Freak Show convinced her that this year would be different. Later that evening, at the dinner table, Liliana pleaded with her parents to take her to see the Alien Freak Show. Her father was as curious as she was, and completely fascinated by everything he'd heard from his friends and coworkers. Her mother, not so much. And so it was an easy and enthusiastic, "Let's do it, Lil," as he agreed to a father-daughter night out at the carnival. When Liliana and her father arrived at the fairgrounds, they headed straight for the Alien Freak Show. The line was long, but the wait was well worth it. After buying their tickets, they entered the large tent and found dozens of cages holding alien freaks from a distant galaxy. As they moved from cage to cage, they were mesmerized by what they saw. The aliens were all very slight in stature. The biggest could be cradled like a newborn baby, and the youngest could be held in the palm of a hand. Their heads were remarkably tiny, with faces so horribly disfigured that at first they were painfully hard to look at. They moved about on oddly configured limbs, and their skin and hair had a very odd range of colors. Most of the aliens scurried about quickly and seemed anxious or agitated by the crowds. Some cowered in the corners of their cages, while others taunted carnival visitors with odd and unintelligible sounds. A few fell into the habit of throwing their strange body excrements at anyone who peered too closely into their cages. "My gosh, those extraterrestrials sure are ugly. So grotesque," her father quipped. "Way more freakish than I imagined. I have no idea how they could possibly survive on their own." "I don't know, Dad. They look kind of cute if you look at them right. Just different." "Seriously, Lil? Cute? They're repulsive. And it's not just their appearance. Look how they behave. So uncouth, so uncivilized. Downright inferior. They're like animals." It must have been the teenager in her when she decided to challenge her father. "Are they really freaks, Dad? Wherever they came from, I think they would be considered pretty normal to each other. I bet their family and friends back home never thought of them as freaks." "Liliana, you sound a little overprotective of these bizarre little buggers. What gives? Would you really want to have them as classmates? Or, God forbid, living in our neighborhood?" Liliana just shook her head, thinking, "My dad, the xenophobe. Ugh." The cages ringed the perimeter of the tent, and in the center was a fenced-in area with several dozen aliens milling around. Visitors could toss food to them, and were even allowed to briefly hold an alien freak for an up-close and personal experience, and of course, for photo ops too. "Oh, Daddy, please, can I cuddle one? They're so cute. And can you take a few pics for me?" Her father agreed, thinking to himself, "Better you than me, girl." The attendant inside the fence removed one of the younger, more docile aliens and handed it to Liliana. "Just be careful and don't squeeze too hard," he advised her. Liliana held the alien in her arms, rocking it like a baby and humming a lullaby from her childhood. When she leaned in to give it a tickle, the alien freak lunged forward, sinking its teeth into the tip of her finger, and it would not let go. She let out a shriek and reflexively ripped it off with her other hand, flinging it to the ground. The young alien crumpled in a heap, emitting what proved to be its final gasp. The body lay limp and lifeless on the hard floor, and a puddle of liquid formed around the back of its small, disfigured, and underdeveloped head. A red light began flashing, accented by a high-pitched beeping. A voice over the loudspeaker called for a cleanup crew at the center corral. When they arrived, the men gloved up, placed the alien in a biohazard waste bag, and then scrubbed the dark red liquid from the concrete floor. Liliana apologized effusively. "Oh my, I'm so sorry. I just reacted without thinking." The crew chief said, "Don't worry, kiddo. It happens every now and then. Besides, we have plenty of extras in the back." Liliana was more upset than hurt and was left with a few shallow teeth marks on the tip of her finger. After she settled down, the two wrapped up their grand tour of caged alien freaks. And despite the attack on her finger, Liliana still took their side every time her father made disparaging or inappropriate remarks about these so-called freaks from another galaxy. On their way out, they passed by a small makeshift office and noticed a man working at his desk. They knocked on the open door and were greeted with a big smile and a warm welcome. "Howdy. Name's Xavier, but most everyone calls me the X-Man. Alien bounty hunter extraordinaire." Liliana and her dad quickly introduced themselves and mentioned just how fascinating the Alien Freak Show was. "Freakier than advertised," complimented her father. "Cuter than expected," added Liliana. "Well, word sure is spreading fast. My export business is booming. You'd be shocked at how popular these little critters have become. I stock alien freak shows all over the place, but it's gotten way bigger than that. Some real creative entrepreneurs out there. Exotic pet stores, game hunting preserves, selective breeders, and deathmatch fight promoters are all clamoring for more. Alien protein ranches are beginning to crop up as their flesh is supposed to be tender and flavorful. Quite the delicacy, I hear." This last thought repulsed Liliana, and she had trouble hiding her disgust. "Not your cup of tea, sweetie? Well, that's okay. They're definitely not for everyone. All I can say is, I sell them as fast as I can get them. A real lucrative fad, if I don't say so," added the X-Man. "Just one quick question before we go," asked Liliana's father. "Are they really from another galaxy?" "They sure are. No secrets here," replied the X-Man. "They were all collected from a rather unremarkable little solar system in the Orion spur of the Milky Way. We found them on a small, rocky, watery planet in a rudimentary stage of development. It's the third one from their sun, and the place is absolutely crawling with them. Got lucky if you ask me. The other 8 planets didn't have a sign of life." Thank you for listening.